What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several tips to hopefully help you play better and win more in team game modes. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below what your favorite game mode to play is in Fortnite. Mine is obviously solos, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolvedJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is probably going to be counterintuitive to a lot of people, and that is just going to be to worry about yourself first. I think one problem that a lot of people struggle with in like duos or squads, and I myself am guilty of this because I'm mostly a solo player, is they worry too much about what their teammates are doing and like how they can help their teammates and, you know, making sure their teammates stay alive, that their own kind of game really struggles. And I think you still need to play well, regardless of the team size. The easiest way or the most consistent way for you to win is to consistently play well. And if you're, not doing well because you're too worried about what your teammates are doing, that's probably going to make it harder for your team to win. So like all the things that, are important when it comes to fighting in Fortnite, like taking good peeks, capitalizing on good timing, hitting your shots, movement, all of that stuff you still need to worry about and do well yourself first. And then you can help the team. And a lot of times just by doing like good, you're gonna make all of your teammates' lives easier. So there's obviously a balance between being too selfless and being too selfish. Those are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Either one is bad, but you do need to worry about yourself first, and I think that is just very important. Keep it simple, play well, and if you play well, the game will probably be easy. One thing that is going to help a lot in team game modes is going to be team shotting, because if you and your teammates are targeting the same player, this will allow you to quickly get a knock, and then that will give you a numbers advantage. And then you continue to just do that more and more. And you can kind of communicate to your team which skin you are targeting, whether you know the name of the skin or just like the colors of the skin. Like you could just say the red one. And unless the enemies are all using the same skin, that might, make it easy for your teammates to know which player you are targeting or which players you have done damage to. But once you've gotten that damage, you can communicate that, try to get your teammates to focus the same player as you, or you could just simply look at where your teammates' shots are going and then shoot the same person as them, especially if it's like a medium to long range fight. If you're all ARing at the enemy team and you see, one of your teammates is shooting a player, you can shoot that same player, and both of you shooting them, more likely that player goes down quick, and that's going to make the rest of the fight much easier for you. Especially if the enemies do not know where you are yet, this is going to be huge, because like if you've snuck up on a team that's not paying attention to you yet, having your teammates kind of target the same player as you and communicating that before y'all actually shoot, and then shooting at the same time to get an instant knock and start the fight with just like an already huge advantage is a big deal. So team shot whenever you can call this out to your teammates and try to get them to help you. You can listen to your teammates' comms, or if communication isn't that big of a deal, you could just look at where your teammates are shooting and try to shoot at the same target. And getting that numbers advantage is going to be huge, whether it's just knocking a player like we already talked about, or getting enough damage on them that they have to like back up and heal. Because when you, get a numbers advantage, you remove an enemy player from the fight, and the enemy team's firepower obviously goes down. If you're playing squads, each player is 25% of that team. If you're playing duos, it's 50. And when you knock a player or eliminate them, that's less firepower the enemy team has. And then this also gives your team less targets to shoot at, so you're naturally going to be team shotting more, which is going to eliminate faster and faster, or eliminate enemies faster and faster, and you're just going to build that advantage you already have for yourself more and more. It's like a snowball that just builds. Once you get one knock, it's easier to get the next, and then now you're fighting a 2v4, and the fight is just so much easier for your team than the enemy team. With less enemies on the enemy team alive, there's also less you have to worry about like keeping track of, in terms of like maybe someone's flanking, maybe someone's trying to get to escape. You just make the fight so much simpler and easier for yourself, the less enemies you have to deal with. And this is why getting that knock is so important. And from the enemy's perspective, the fight is just getting more and more complicated as the fight becomes less and less fair for them. Like it was a 4v4, quickly becomes a 3v4, then a 2v4, just getting harder and harder for them. And it's getting simpler and simpler for you. So getting that first knock just makes the rest of the fight so much easier. Another way you can often get a numbers advantage is by taking advantage of some sort of split timing if the enemy team is split up at all. This will happen a lot when mobility items are being used, because they can get a bit split up on like timing, like the wingsuit, for example. the first player to use it is probably going to land a bit ahead of the team. And there is some skill to using the wingsuit in terms of flying up and down. So people don't always land like exactly on each other. And if you see somebody wingsuiting and landing, being able to knock him before his teammates, are there to help him can be an easy way for you to get a numbers advantage. Also, like, let's say you see a team about to wingsuit away and one player hasn't yet left the ground, but the other people are in the sky. Eliminating that player who got left behind is going to make the rest of the fight easier for you. So not only do you get this by starting the fight or team shotting, but also the way the timing of the fight works out, you might also go in with like an automatic numbers advantage, and taking advantage of that and executing on it like immediately is pretty important, because those timing numbers advantages are often like temporary. So if you don't capitalize on it, it's kind of going to go away. And this is something you need to keep in mind for yourself as well. Like if you're split from your team, kind of be aware of that. Like I said, it can happen a lot with the wingsuit. And so if you are kind of alone, be more reserved and be ready to kind of like play your life to buy time for your team to be able to help you. This season also had a self-revive, but it is currently vaulted during the South Park update. But I think the self-revive will be returning once South Park is over. And I think with self-revive being in the loot pool, I think you just want to thirst enemies anytime you get the opportunity to, because you don't want them to roll away and kind of like revive themselves. Like I said before, when you knock someone normally, you take them out of the fight and you potentially take some of their teammates out of the fight as well as they drop back to revive. With self-res, that's no longer a thing. So if self-res is in, I'm thirsting any knocked player I see as fast as I can. With self-revive gone, I still don't really mind thirsting knocked bodies. Like, it's never really been something I've been against. But you can also potentially bait them because an enemy might go for the revive. And one thing you can do to put a lot of pressure on the enemy team is when you see that knocked body, shoot it a bit, but not so much that you actually get the elimination, because this is going to reduce the amount of time that knocked player has to it's going to reduce their bleed out time. And so you're going to put more pressure on the enemy team to revive them, faster. That player is obviously going to be telling his friends he's about to bleed out, and the comms are probably going to be pretty stressed. That's going to make the fight easier for you. So thirst knocked bodies when you can, but also you maybe can get some damage on them to force the enemy's hand into reviving them sooner, which is going to be some timing that you can capitalize on. Another huge aspect of team game modes, in addition to team shotting, is going to be getting split angles whenever you can. So a lot of times, especially in mid-range fights, it ends up with your team posted up in bunkers and the enemy team posted up in bunkers or around cover, whatever you have, and y'all are just trading shots. And if you look at it like this, from your perspective, what would be easier? If the enemy teams were all kind of standing on top of each other, or if they were spread out a bit? Obviously, you would rather them be super close to each other because they're easier to keep track of. So sometimes flanking or getting some sort of split angle in a fight can really make or break these situations, or just make it much easier for you to win the fight sooner. Because a lot of times if you get split angles, then the enemy might be able to take cover from your teammate behind a tree or something, but be exposed to you. And so they might take cover from your teammate. You shoot them because they're now exposed to you. Now they slide back to an area where they're exposed to your teammate. And that kind of push-pull just makes it super easy for you to get that elimination. And again, makes the fight more complicated for your enemies. So not this is just something that you want to naturally be doing. It is somewhat risky at times because, if you're playing a bit away from your teammates, you obviously have the potential that the enemy team just hops you, or that, that isolated timing I talked about before is a thing. So keep this in mind and know when you kind of need to play your life when you are a bit split or when your help is far away. You don't want to be so far away from your teammates that they can't help you, but also being a bit spread out, that way you have somewhat different angles, can be really, really helpful. And this is something that you maybe want to communicate to your team as well. Hey, I'm going to flank these enemies. Just, buy me some time and I'll have shots on them in the back in the moment, something like that. The wingsuit is also really good for this because you can pick where you want to go and you have a lot of options in terms of positioning. And so you can wingsuit in such a way to where you get a split angle from your team, make the rest of the fight much easier for yourself. Communication matters in team game modes a lot, obviously, but I feel like it is often kind of overrated in Fortnite, especially for public matches, which is what we're making content on. A lot of the things I've talked about, you can just kind of do naturally. I was talking about team shotting. You can comment and try to get your team to listen to you, but you can also just look at where your teammates are shooting and then shoot the same thing as them. I see a lot of complaints all the time. I'm sure you guys do, where people complain about their teammates going off alone, but that's partially on you as well for not following them, especially if it's in duos. Duos is like the easiest game mode to have good teamwork in, I think, because you can just decide to play off your teammate and then you automatically have good teamwork there. But calling out, you know, what enemies you're targeting, what enemies you have damage on, where enemies are, you know, if people are wingsuiting, if people are flanking, just communicating useful information to your team is obviously beneficial, but also communicating what you yourself are doing is sometimes beneficial as well. Like I said before, if you're getting a flank, that's something you maybe need to calm to your team, because now they know that they just need to kind of buy time and then you'll win the fight for them. If you need ammo, if you need heals, this is super obvious and it should go without saying, but asking your teammates for heals is probably better than just hoping that you happen to find it. Also, communicating loot to your team can be really helpful as well, especially this season with the wingsuit. It's kind of the main mobility item right now for team game modes, because crash pads can be good, but like having all 4 players carry crash pads is something that oftentimes isn't going to happen. The wingsuit is much more prevalent. So if you find wingsuits, your teammates probably need to be aware of that if you already have one. But like I said, I think communication is super simple. I think the biggest gap is that people don't really listen to their teammates. Like, they care more about calming than listening. You kind of need to be able to do both. And then also, a lot of people don't communicate what they're doing as much. They just communicate when they see enemies. And trying to tell your teammates what you want to do or what you're trying to do in a situation is also something that can make the game a lot easier. So at its core, that's basically all you need to do is just team shot, get split angles when you can, be close enough to your teammates that you can help, but not so close to them that it makes the enemy team easy for you to track. And then also just play well. Like I said, if you play well in Fortnite, it doesn't matter what game mode it is, you know, the kind of basics are the same regardless. With Chapter 7, I feel like bunkers are incredibly prevalent right now, just the pacing of the game and the way it plays out. When I was playing squads, it felt like every fight was like a bunker fight. So carry these when you can. Probably everybody on your team wants to carry bunkers, or a majority of them, because with bunkers, you just have more options in the fight. And with, you know, squads especially, the fights tend to go a bit longer. So having those bunkers to give you more permanent cover is a big deal. You can spray out the bunkers pretty quick in squads though. So this is one big change. I feel like when I play solos, if someone throws a bunker down, that it takes a while to spray out. But when you have 4 people shooting the dead eye at a bunker wall, it goes down pretty quick. And this is, again, something that you maybe need to communicate to your team. If you get a lot of damage on somebody, they're backing up to heal, you can just spray out their bunker wall. And if all 4 of you do it pretty quickly, you can diminish that enemy cover pretty quick and catch them lacking. So don't be afraid to spray out the walls. Obviously, you do want to do this from a protected angle, but if you coordinate with your team, you can very easily remove the enemy cover. And this kind of goes even without bunkers. Like, if somebody's sitting behind a rock or something, normally it might take a lot to destroy it, but if all 4 of you spray it, it will go down very quick. Another Chapter 7 kind of specific thing is that the vending machines are a pretty big deal, and this goes for all game modes, but I felt like it was an even bigger deal when playing squads, because ammo can be a concern. There are vending machines that sell ARs, and the AR vending machines sell medium ammo. So if you're struggling on medium ammo, or anybody on your team is, make sure you're checking the vending machines. Same thing with shields. A lot of people struggle to get shields just naturally, but when you're playing squads and you need 4 times the amount of shields for everybody to be satisfied, it can be a bit much. And so the vending machines are going to play an even bigger role there. And then the final thing is going to be the wingsuits. As I said, I feel like wingsuits are a better mobility item in squads than they are solos, just because of how the game plays out. And there are vending machines that sell wingsuits as well. So make sure you're kind of checking the vending machines around you to stay topped off on ammo, potentially get better weapons, potentially get shield, then also potentially get a wingsuit if not everyone has one yet. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.